Russo runs a break. Caldwell Pope goes to the wing here. James! Oh!
Trying to play at the defensive end, got blown by back.
Oh, yes!
Hook jam!
Harden step back, puts up the three, got hit. Shot's good! And one!
Practice down here, set.
Oh, Russell Westbrook!
Hey, what's up, y'all? Kendall here. So we recorded this episode on January 12th, but following this, I experienced some personal things going on in my life. So during that time, I just didn't touch my computer, didn't really touch this, but I still want to get this episode out, so that way you all can, let y'all know what we was talking about, how we feel on these topics. There was another episode coming out that George and I just did on the 25th that we posted today as well. But like I said, I'm just putting this out just to put it out for reference. So, yeah, enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy. I tried. Welcome to Trey Ball. It's your boy, Kendall K. Howard, here again with George, Bucket Patrol. Bill,
BP.
introduce yourself, my man. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy George. Some of you might know me as BP. Some of you might know me as whatever you call me, Destin. I don't really care. I'm the guy who comes in here with the good takes. So just call me that. Call me good takes. Call me good take guy.
If I don't have good enough takes. We're back here again with an episode of Trey Ball, as you already know. January 12th is today's day. We're recording this episode. NBA is looking very interesting right now. Still beginning of the season, having some games being postponed. Let's just dive straight into it. The leading topic of the day. This came out a couple days ago, but it's been, I guess, pushed more forward towards the media as the main story in the NBA right now. With Kyrie Irving not being with Brooklyn Nets team, he was out last week due to personal reasons. I mean, you know how people have been in the media not trying to, like, you just harping on him and, like, saying, oh, what's the reasons? Why is he not telling everybody, blah, 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 this and then the third. Everybody's been on Kyrie's case. You know how I feel about that type of stuff. I don't like how everybody been on Kyrie's case ever since he left Cleveland and he came out about why he didn't want to be with LeBron. And I feel like ever since then, people was kind of targeting him in the media. But this new instance that we have here, Kyrie Irving is being investigated by the league now, after a video surfaced of him at a family party without a mask, because according to the NBA protocols, COVID protocol that they had, excuse me, that was not according to the rules. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on the show too, how they added more rules to that protocol as well. So he's not expected to return back to the team this week. Is this a big deal, George? You know, right now we see the Nets right now sitting in the 5-6 record. They're playing against the Nuggets right now as we speak. Is this a big deal? You know, they lost Spencer Dinwiddie with that tour. Was it ACL in his leg,
left knee, I think.
Yeah, left knee or right. It might have been right knee. I don't know.
Yeah, he's only got two knees. One of the knees.
Yeah, he only got two ACLs, one or the other. So
50.
after losing him, you know, Kyrie Irving being the actual main point guard of that team, you know, him not being there, what does this mean for the team, George?
I really don't think it means much. I mean, at the end of the day, Kyrie is just, his ancient stage, whatever kind of stuff he be on, Karma Sutra, Flat Earth, hanging out. He might not even think the virus exists. I don't even know. Kyrie's out there. But at the end of the day, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. He's hanging out with family. I mean, how many people are really wearing masks at the cookout? How many people were really wearing masks when they were hanging out with family on New Year's or Christmas? He's just doing normal people stuff. What does concern me is more so about him being out for 4 straight games for personal reasons. And then he's there. I don't really know exactly what he's got going on. Obviously, he's with family. Maybe there might be a family emergency. That doesn't need to be public domain. We don't need to know. I don't really care. He just does the cool dribble moves and spin moves and fadeaways and scores 50. And I don't really care about anything else. I shouldn't. He doesn't owe us anything. But you know me, I'm a stickler about people showing up for work. The best ability is availability. And if you ain't ever showing up and you're not very punctual about how you go about not showing up, especially because apparently he started skipping games and didn't even tell Steve Nash. And then all those talk he had early in the offseason.
He did text his teammates now. He didn't talk.
Okay,
He did.
okay, then so when you don't go to work, do you text your coworkers or you text your boss?
I text my boss. Wow.
Okay, then. So to me, then, if you're not telling me as a coach that you're not showing up for work, you my starting point guard, I'm expecting you to be right there, ready to go, and you're not there, and I'm the only one who didn't know. Now I'm thinking, okay. So do you respect my authority? Because they already said earlier in the offseason that you didn't need a coach. So you already
Now,
started.
but he did retract that statement. Now he did retract that statement.
He said, okay, so at the end of the day, let's be real. Social media era, people will retract statements when they don't go well. They don't retract them because they changed their mind. They retract them because they didn't go well. He said it, and he changed his mind because he got some bad publicity on it. Let's be real.
Now I ain't we not gonna sit here and just act like, because you made the point saying that because we live in an era, because when you say things on social media, when it doesn't go well, we take it back. Also, don't forget that, like, sometimes we say things that we probably don't fully flesh out the ideas, like Kanye West, for example. People, I'm a supporter of Kanye, just like I am a supporter of Kyrie. I guess that tells you a little bit about me and myself. A guy like him, he doesn't really fully flesh out his ideas, but yeah, everybody on social media going crazy. Oh, he's saying this, he's saying that, but really he ain't really talking too crazy.
Then, but here's the thing though. On that tip you just said right there, when we don't flesh out ideas logically, what are we doing? We're expressing our emotions, and our emotions are less calculated and more so how you truly feel inside without any consideration for the social context of it. And when you speak emotionally, that is what you truly feel in your heart of hearts with no regard for how it will play out. He said that emotionally. He thought about it logically, and he tried to pull it back rationally. I look at that and say, okay, that's how you feel, but you also recognize you're not supposed to be saying that. You try to pull it back. With that in mind, I have no problem with that. You can feel that way. I just feel like you got to be punctual. Like there's a way to go about these kind of things, and you got to go through the due diligence and the due process like everybody else. That's all I'm saying. With that in mind, if you want to miss some games for personal reasons, he want to hang out with his family, he want to kick back and chill on New Year's, do that, Kyrie. Just do it the right way. That's it. Don't ask for a lot.
Now we not going to assume that was the reason why he took off, because he just want to kick back with family. We don't know what's going on in his life personally.
And I won't make that assumption. I will not.
Right. But I mean, to me, I don't think it's too much of a big deal either. Like I said earlier, I'm a supporter of Kyrie, and I don't like how most of the media treats him and kind of puts a target on him. Even though, he may say some things or do something that might rub the media the wrong way, I feel like the media does maybe a little bit too much about just harping on him and trying to, make him seem worse than what it really is, and kind of put this narrative around him that now there's this whole, as we see now, like there's this whole narrative around Kyrie kind of being like this weird, like non-compliant, type of guy. And I don't really like that, being associated with a guy, who you already said is very talented on the basketball court. And nobody disrespected him for that. No. Now, the moment we get to that, it's over. It's over. Because
we're not ready to, but that man is a wizard with the basketball. He
a true wizard with the basketball.
Houdini with the
no matter what people have been saying about him and like his little antics, as people want to call it, he still produces on the court. So for him to be gone for now, going on, I guess this is week 2, I'm assuming, because he's out this week again. I don't think it's too much of a big deal because it's still early on in the season. Even though they're off to below 500 record. Granted, if they get this win or not tonight against the Nuggets, I think this not that big of a deal. I think as we go on throughout the season, though, however, seeing if this will be a trend, then we'll see if that becomes the problem. Because right now, things happen in people's lives that we don't know, and we don't need to, not everybody wants to talk about it. So it's okay for this moment. But it's just a matter of the consistency that this type of stuff happens throughout the season and how it affects them. Because like I said, remember, Dinwiddie's out for majority of the season. We don't know when he's going to come back. He's, prepping that he's hopefully come back in the end of the season, given that he already had his injury before in college. Not to say that his knee was good enough and he looks younger than what he's supposed to be at the age of 27. I think that's how old he is. So we don't know how long Dinwiddie's going to be out. But if Irving, continues to do this, then it becomes a problem. But right now, not that big of a deal. Going on COVID protocols, as I mentioned earlier, the NBA has issued and came out with new changes to the protocols they have in the league. Following teams like the who was it? The Celtics and
He
Celtics and Heat having the game postponed on Sunday following, some players on the Celtics testing positive for COVID-19, Jason Tatum included. That game got canceled. Yesterday's game between the Pelicans and the Mavericks game got canceled. And the game today between the Bulls and the Celtics game got canceled due to contact tracing. The new rules, I can tell you some of the things that they added into the new protocol includes outlawing hugging and other physical interaction between opposing players before and after games, as well as reducing social interaction during games, including tapping hands after free throws. The NBA is planning on to enforcing for the coaches and players on the bench to wear masks more strictly. We get those shots during the games where we see the players, having the mask pulled down just a little bit or they pull it right back up. So expect to see more enforcement from the NBA of like actually making sure these guys have their mask on fully the whole entire time because of this. What else do we have here? That's some of the things that they have here going on. What do you think about this, George? Is the league in danger following, some of these teams having these COVID scares? I know the Mavericks is out with 4 players. They didn't get to play the game, like I said, against the Pelicans. Is the league in danger? Will these protocols help keep the games and keep the season alive, or is it doomed?
I think it's on a ticking time bomb before they realize this is just an unsustainable model. For one, let's
Really?
just be real. Let's just be real about it for a second. How likely is it to be able to? You think James Harden not leaving the crib for anything except team-related activity? I don't think so. And so
I
I don't
mean,
think
shoot.
James Harden is a high-profile baller in the club. So I think it's easy to say
Ain't got
that.
his
There's a
jersey
lot more
hung up.
there's a lot of James Hardens in the league. I know there's a lot of guys in Miami, South Beach, money to throw, and they pretty young, and nobody blames them for any of that. I just feel like putting this rule in there will be A, really hard to enforce. B, I'm also going to be honest. I'm not really happy with the product I'm getting right now. I feel like I'm not watching NBA basketball. I'm watching like rec players playing on some like recreational league for people who didn't make their JV basketball team. And not because the players' talent isn't there. It's just because of the atmosphere. Like, you ever been to a rec game where it's like only the parents and the family who come, and it's just like no noise, no real momentum shift from a real crowd audience. You have a game like when Boston was playing, I believe it was who was it? It was Portland, I think.
Oh, you talking
And
about when Pritchard hit that game-winning shot?
yeah, and it's just like there was this crazy run. There's this momentum shift, and it
Play the Heat.
didn't
They
feel
was
like
playing the Heat.
Yeah, the Heat, and it didn't feel like it. It just didn't feel like it. It just felt like I'm watching guys play pickup basketball. And honestly, the bubble, it felt more okay because I think the players were all super engaged. They felt like they were playing for something. They were in the playoffs. The atmosphere of the place was so much more tighter. It wasn't as big of a stadium. It didn't feel as empty. And when I watch these games, I just can't stop thinking about the actual things in mind. I feel like these rules are really hard to enforce. I don't know the exact ratings, but I bet you if we really dove into them, that they're probably not doing very good right now. And I just think the product is not as good. And it's not their fault, but it's just COVID-19. It's just a pandemic. What can you do? So for me, I think that it's probably inevitable for this to kind of just falter a little bit, and maybe they'll postpone the season until COVID vaccinations are widespread enough that they could have fans come back in, at least in some level of attendance. It could be like almost like a passport kind of a thing where if you have been vaccinated, you can come and they can start filling in arenas again and bring back this experience. Obviously, all the players can get vaccinated, and maybe then it'll go back to normal and we could have a real season. But right now, I think the season's on track to get canceled, and I'm not really going to miss it the way it is right now, outside of just being a basketball fan who likes to see basketball.
So I'm on the other side of the fence of where you stand. I don't think the league is gonna get canceled from this. I think last time I checked, I think they got about at least 34 players right now that kind of tested positive for COVID. A lot of it you got to think about is due to traveling, because you can have these players quarantined. You can have them locked up in their hotels, but once they move around and go outside, get on the plane or whatnot. And granted, they're mostly taking team planes and stuff. Like you said, how can they really regulate the restrictions that these guys have, and really monitor everything that these guys are doing? Another thing that I saw in this new protocol, I was hearing them talk about on the jump, about how even on road trip or even at home games, I should say, the players only allowed to go to practice, only allowed to go on home.
In the bubble. You think people are going to stay home in the $1 million mansions in Miami and Los Angeles, in Orlando, and just say, oh, you know what? I'm going to kick at the crib with no quarantine. Everybody else is having a good time outside. Maybe during quarantine, that's easy because everybody's at home. But when you're the only person that's got to be at home, I don't know.
But I don't even think necessarily the problem is them leaving their home. I think is like we see with this Kyrie Irving situation. I think it's the problem is if they're not, practicing the guidelines, like wearing that mask and stuff. What we saw with James Harden earlier this year when he got in trouble for being at that party, it was because he didn't have his mask. What we see with Kyrie Irving right now is because he didn't have his mask. So I think that's, just kind of being protective over yourself and, protecting, yourself from others by wearing that mask. I think that's what the league is just trying to harp on more so than others. Cause I think, they don't care if you're in a gathering as long as not over 15 people. Usually before it was 10 people. So now we at least got 15 people. So I think they just care about just the protection of that. As far as like the league getting canceled, I don't think it's gonna happen because we've seen this in other leagues where the type of stuff happened. In NFL, they're about to finish up their season now. They're in the playoffs right now. MLB, they was able to get through. They had a couple games like that where they kind of had some scares where they had to postpone some games and was able to get back into the season and actually finish it out. And these were leagues, where we talk about the NBA when it was in the bubble at first, going from the summer to October. These leagues are actually traveling around the team to team. So I think, this is probably like one of the only few minor scares we have. Because I think before this, we only had the Houston one early on the season where the first game got canceled or postponed, I should say, against the Thunder. Going forward, I don't think this is going to be something we're going to see too much of. I don't think the league is in that much of a danger. It is interesting to see how they will regulate these things and how these players will have to be more constricted with what they do in their free time and where they be able to go. But in terms of like just the league shutting down, I don't think it's gonna happen. Because you also keep in mind too, we don't even have the full schedule of the entire season right now. We only have like at least the first half of the season.
Up to All-Star break.
Yeah. Up to All-Star break up in March. And we don't even know when the season is supposed to end. So, barring that nothing else crazy happens, and these players need to make sure that if they do go out, that whoever they with need to put their damn phones away, because that's all it ever comes from. You had it with Jack exposing Lou Will at Magic City in the bubble. You got it with James Harden, whoever he was with. They was recording him, and Lil Baby was recording him when he was giving them the honey bun and the honey bun. And you got Kyrie Irving's family, recording him now. It's like, does these players' family not know what's going on? They're not supposed to be in these environments in the first place. Like, come on, folks. Come on. Y'all gotta do better. Y'all gotta protect these players better, man. Like y'all think they play a part in this too.
There are no secrets in the social media era. There are no secrets. It all comes
none. People can't put their phone down for nothing. Like, golly. I think that's the problem, really. But just besides that, these players, like I said, it's more so about just wearing that mask. I feel like in these instances with James Harden and Kyrie Irving, I think it's with them just not wearing that mask in these public places that we've seen them with. I think if they did, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. But this, I don't think it's gonna really hurt the league too much. Let's talk about a team that's actually hurting right now, the Wizards. What many had pegged them to be the best backcourt in the entire league with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I mean, who else is better as a backcourt? Who else is better?
Personally, I'll take John Wall and James Harden. Personally, right now, I mean, look, John's playing good basketball. James Harden better than both of them. I mean,
is John Wall better than both of them?
Huh?
Is John Wall better than any of them? I know James Harden is better than both Russ and Brad, but you gotta think about it. On the level that both those players are, who else is better?
I'm not that big of a Russ fan. Like, Russell put up big numbers, but he's not.
Now you're not? No, hold on now. You going back to what you said.
No. Let's qualify. I said,
here you go. Here you go.
Aggressive attitude and his just straight up, I'm going to kill you mentality. I respect that. What I do not like is his actual play style. He cannot shoot. He thinks he can shoot. He's been better about that this year, but he's inefficient. Doesn't make good decisions. He hasn't really been. I'll give him this. He hasn't really been stat chasing. From what I've seen, it doesn't look like he's stat chasing as much. But they're not winning games.
It's not the first
So, I
couple
mean,
of games, yeah.
I mean, they're not. Yeah. Oh yeah. But they're not really winning games. So, I mean, he ain't showing me nothing. At the end of the day, I reward winning over statistics. That's why Steph Curry is better than Russell Westbrook. We were just going off of numbers.
But we're not gonna go on this whole tangent. Answer the question: Are they or are they not the best backcourt in the league, talent wise? I know you want to talk about output and this and that. Talent wise, who's better?
I'll hear the argument. They're the best. I'll hear the argument. I'll hear it.
All right. So we have the best backcourt in the league, arguably, according to Mr. Bucket Patrol over here. But they're coming in at a 3-8 record. Russ is out for the week. He had a leg injury he got going on. But Bradley Beal has been playing very good lately. He had a 60-point game against Philly, which they lost. He had 57. I think he had 57 going, or 54 going into the fourth, 54, 57, one of the two. And he didn't really score that much in the fourth quarter. They had 41 points in a loss against against Boston. And, as I said earlier, with Tatum had COVID. So they had to sit out Bradley Beal for the next game, 48 hours, and make sure he didn't have any. He went through all the tests, came out negative, and he played against the Suns last night, and he had 34 points. Scott Brooks, who was the coach of that team, is in that hot seat. He's the head coach. We know him. He's a former coach in Oklahoma City Thunder. He's been in Washington for, I think, the past couple of years, about 2-3 years now. We had him when he was in Oklahoma City. He led the team to the championship in 2012 with Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, the big three that we never saw again after that championship run. What is going on with this team? I know me and you kind of talked before the show kind of started. We watched the game, but we haven't really been able to watch it too much, but just based on signed to a new deal this past offseason. Thomas Bryant has been out, who's their interior defender they got. Who else did they have? Rui Hachimura. What do you think is going on with this team? What could possibly be the problem of what's going on with Washington?
Well, I just don't think Scott Brooks is a good coach. He's never really shown me anything about being a good coach. He said he led the Thunder to the 2012 NBA Finals. I think Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant led the Thunder to the 2012 NBA Finals. And Scott Brooks just happened to be sitting in the head coach seat when he did that.
But he's been a good coach. Like, even after that, he led them to multiple Western Conference appearances. And, through those seasons where Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were getting hurt, when one of them was out without the other, he kept them competitive, and they made it to the playoffs even without, even if Kevin Durant was there or Russell Westbrook was there. So he's not that bad of a coach.
I'm not saying he's the worst coach in the world. He's not Jim Boylan or anything like that. But I watch his offense, and it's pretty much Russell. All right, we're gonna let you penetrate. Okay, you got something. All right, Bradley Beal, do your thing. Or Bradley Beal ISO, and then everybody else kind of just sets screens, runs around a little bit, and if they get open, they get open. Their defense is absolutely horrible. I don't know the specific stats, but if I had to guess right now, who's in the bottom third, maybe even the bottom 10% of teams in that bottom three of defensive rating, I bet you the Wizards are probably in there. It just doesn't look good. Westbrook, that's the thing about Westbrook. That's another thing I don't like about him is like he picks and chooses when he wants to play hard sometimes. Like I will say on offense, that man does whatever it takes. But on D, I've never seen some laissez-faire matador defense sometimes. Because this man could really get with any guard. And he's just like, oh, well, you got past me. I'll get the rebound. Like, and Bradley Beal, he's never really been a defender. The rest of those guys, at the end of the day, I really put it on the stars. You're the star, especially because they're the best backcourt in the NBA, which I've been told by, do I agree? Not particularly. But I've heard it from other people, so I hold them to that standard. I mean, they're putting up good numbers. If you're in the numbers, congratulations. You got all over them. If you're an actuary, you're having a great time. Numbers everywhere. But the only number I'm not seeing are dubs. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. So, I'm not that big of a fan. I say, free Bradley Beal, trade that man. Send him to LA. We'll give you Kuzma, straight up.
Of course.
Get that man a ring. He earned it. He's leading. That man's averaging 35 points a game right now, and he got. Come on. That's just not fair. Come on, that's just not fair.
Straight up for Kyle Kuzma. Really, you just suggested that trade? Really?
We'll throw in Taylor and Horton Tucker if you want to be greedy.
Shut the hell up. Anyways, as I'm looking at this team, while you talk, I kind of looked at their roster. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Looking at it, it's not really when we look at like other competitive teams in the league, it's not really that deep or like really that threatening of a team that we should be afraid of or worried about. It might be because I don't know.
It's better. It's a better roster than 3 and 8. For one, you have the best backcourt in the NBA. So
look who they have around. Look who they have around them though. I just named after that. I mean, you got Denny Avia, who's a new guy they got, who's supposed to be like this playmaker forward that they got. You got Bert Thomas, who they just signed to that big deal. You got a stretch big right there. Thomas Bryant, who's supposed to be your man down low, supposed to, be the interior defender. You got Robin Lopez, you signed him this offseason. Rui Hachimura, you drafted him 2 years ago. Other than that, I mean, you got, Troy Brown Jr., Isaac Bonga, Anthony Gill, Raul Neto, who used to play for the Jazz, Garrison Matthews, Jerome Robinson, Cassius Winston from Michigan State, Mo Wagner, a former Laker. Like Ish Smith, who used to be one of the fastest guys in the league, still one of the fastest guys, I would probably say. Like, other than that, these guys ain't really moving the needle like that. Yes, granted, the Wizards have I say the best backcourt.
That's good enough of a roster to at least be the 8th seed. I mean, I'm looking
really? You think so?
I mean, I'm looking at that roster. You think that roster is worse than the Magic?
Yeah.
You think that roster is worse than the Hornets?
Than the Hornets?
Yeah.
I think the Hornets maybe have better pieces. Like outside of the All-Stars,
dude. You just
got Melo
and Bradley Beal are better. I promise you, Russell Westbrook and Bradley.
Okay, but listen,
are better than
I'm talking about supporting cast. Look at the supporting cast. Outside of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, you gotta think about the supporting cast.
You telling me right now? I'm about to look. We're gonna look at Orlando right now. So who's Orlando's best player right now? Markelle Fultz is hurt.
He's hurt. Yeah,
Jonathan Isaac's hurt. So they're missing two of their primary guys,
and they still good.
But you're telling me right now the Wizards are worse than that team? That's what you want me to believe? Right now on live TV.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you back. My bad. I had so many hot takes. I think I burned down my Wi-Fi connection for a second. But regardless, I got Nikola Vucevic, who's very underrated, like probably the most underrated player in the league. No cap, because nobody talks about this man. This man consistently putting up 20 and 12 with like 4 assists, hitting 3. He gets no love at all. It's actually disgusting.
He's an all-star now. I mean, he's getting some love.
But he's an all-star, but he's one of them guys who, like, literally, if you were told to list the 24 all-stars, he would be the one you pick last. Like, this man's, he gets less credit than Chris Middleton.
I mean, Vucevic is always the guy that I always knew about, because I know that the Magic was at first was talking about getting rid of him, especially before they drafted Mo Bamba. But every year, like you say, he's proven to be a 20 and 12 type of guy every year. And he keeps getting, I mean, he gets better too. It's not like he's getting worse. Like, he gets better.
Molly put up 22, 11, and 4. 22, 11, 4.
And he stretched his game out to where he's over shooting threes consistently now too. Sorry.
Right. But regardless, that team is not better than Washington. I'm sorry.
You got to go through the rest of the players. Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross, who's a 6 man of the year candidate right now.
Okay. Then who else we got? Go ahead. You want to talk about Michael Carter Williams, 2012 Rookie of the Year, Michael Carter Williams.
Go ahead. Keep talking. Who else?
James Ennis, Evan Fournier. Okay, Evan Fournier.
Evan Fournier's all right. James Ennis, he's all right too.
Cole Anthony. Okay, he's been all right.
Cole Anthony, he's playing good too.
Okay, but which one of them guys is better than Bradley Beal?
I said outside of Brad Bill and Russell Westbrook, bro. I'm talking about supporting
You got,
cast.
bro, you got a great. Okay, so look at the Lakers last year. Look at the Lakers last year. That's what you told me. Oh, that's a ragtag group of misfits. It's LeBron, AD.
That's LeBron James. LeBron James done pulled worse of teams through the
Okay.
damn playoffs.
You told me
That
the
2018 Cavs team, when he done traded everybody else in the half point of the season, that team that he done dragged to the finals.
You
Come
told
on,
me
bro.
Westbrook was a top 10 player. You told me that Bradley Beal.
Look here, George. Let's not play this game. You know the difference between these players. You know a guy like LeBron James can drag a team to the playoffs versus a guy like Russell Westbrook. And let's not even just shade Russell Westbrook, because Russell Westbrook was on a team by himself on the Oklahoma City Thunder. He led that team to the playoffs when he was the only guy on that team. You can say Victor Oladipo, Steven Adams, and all that, but it was really Russell Westbrook to the MVP season. He dragged them to the playoffs.
Now he
Lost the first round.
In a weaker conference.
He's younger. I mean, he's older. My fault. He's older. Dang. He's older now.
Okay, I'm just saying. I wasn't even gonna put it all on him. I'm not even putting it all on him.
We can't put it on him.
I'm disappointed. Trade Bradley Beal, blow it up.
Blow it up? No.
Blow it up. Blow it up. They're not doing nothing. Their heyday was in 2016 when they went to the semifinals and went 7 with Boston. It's been downhill since. They might as well just blow it up, get Bradley Beal out of there, stop wasting his prime, send him to a contender, let him get a ring, make his 36 points a game actually mean something versus empty stats and empty calories. That boy's like Frosted Flakes right now with chocolate milk, a whole bunch of empty calories.
What? What type of cereal? What type of milk you use with your cereal, bro? What? Chocolate milk with Frosted Flakes? That sounds disgusting.
Exactly. It's all sugary, nasty, and empty calories. Go ahead and let that man be part of a nutritious meal. Let him be the strawberries and the pineapple to the Lakers 5-course meal. Let him be nutritious. Eat up.
So you don't think you don't think it's anything to do with the coaching staff or the way that the team is ran?
I'll let the segment by saying fire Scott Brooks. And you argue with me.
I mean, you make it sound like he was the worst coach. I'm just saying
He's not a good coach.
I mean, okay, so you fire Scott Brooks. Who else do you give him?
Man, somebody needs to give Kenny Atkinson a job. Throw that man in
He
there.
just had one. Kenny Atkinson, you think that's the guy for them?
I love Kenny Atkinson. He got fired from Brooklyn prematurely. In my opinion, he needs a job.
Oh no. I mean,
with D-Lo and them boys overachieved for sure.
They did overachieve. I did overachieve. They got
great at developing players. And you said you got a whole bunch of bums, so let's raise the floor on them guys.
Okay, so if you were looking at him like that, I think he needs to go to New Orleans, because I talked to you before. I don't think Stan Van Gundy is the coach for
No. I don't think so. I'm not really a fan of what New Orleans got going on right now either. I just think that
they great defensively.
That's about it.
They're doing great defensively, but like on offense, Lonzo and Bledsoe in the backcourt.
They don't fit together. Speaking of which, since we're talking about them, I know we want to talk about them Lakers. So let's go ahead, since we pivoted to them Laker castaways. Let's go ahead and talk about them.
What about them? What do you want to talk? Like, what is there to talk about?
I mean, we talk about King James, MVP race leader, front runner, year 18.
It's early, so we really gonna talk about MVP race, front runners, this and that early on in the season.
Talk about fine. Let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about standings. Who's the number 1 team in the league right now? You've been looking at the numbers. Who's on there?
I mean, I guess it is the Lakers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, you right. LeBron is leading the MVP ladder right now.
He is
year 18,
Damn.
averaging 24 points. What is it? 8 rebounds and 7 assists.
8 of them. Yeah, 7 of them.
And you got, he's voted in an anonymous poll by League Execs as the current front runner for the award. Luka's right behind him.
King James, they voted for him. That's crazy. Who else on there?
You got Luka at number 2. You got Paul George at number 3 on that ladder. Joel Embiid number 4 and Steph Curry at number 5. Luka was kind of the odds-on favorite to win MVP coming into the season. I don't see Giannis on that board.
They're not voting for Giannis again. Giannis had to do something historic for him to get voted 3 times in a row. They didn't see him basically just give up in the playoffs too many times. Even though it shouldn't count, it does. It definitely does.
I mean, with Giannis, like you are right, he needs to do more in this regular season. I mean, I don't even think he needs to do more in the regular season, because in the regular season, he's proven to be dominant. The Bucks has had the best record in the league 2 years in a row. So I think with him, I think he's need to elevate his game more. We've seen his free throw percentage gone down even more this year.
He's been terrible in the fourth quarters.
Terrible in the fourth quarter. I don't know what's going on with that. Last season we saw Giannis, hit more threes consistently. I remember that game playing against the Lakers. He had what?
5 of them.
He had 5 of them against y'all. But this
Killed.
year, I ain't got the numbers pulled up, but his game is not really expanded that much from what I've been seeing him, from when I've been, watching the highlights and just watching him all together. His 3-point game has not that much improved. So I don't know what it is. I feel like with Giannis, though, while we're talking on him real quick, to me, it has to be, it's some type of, I feel like maybe it's a mentality thing with him. I don't know. I could be wrong. Because he has gotten better throughout the years, obviously, significantly better than what anybody ever thought when the team even drafted Giannis on the court. We didn't even know who he was. For him to be a 2-time MVP now, MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, the first since Michael Jordan, he's gotten significantly better. But for him to, to be kind of in this gridlock of where he is in his career, granted, he's still young. That's another thing. He is still young. He's what, 24, 25? He is still young. So let's not act like he needs to have it all together. Because not too many champions we've seen at his age anyways, when you really think about it. It's not too many champions that are the star of that team at his age. So we kind of got to cut him some slack on that front. But for him, though, where I think it's a mentality thing, because there's no way you should be this total package of a player. You've gotten better. You've gotten stronger. We have seen your progression. You are a leader of the team. The team has, built around you. You are the kind of the we saw in the playoffs, as you pointed out, against the Raptors 2 seasons ago. And last season, we saw his demise against the Celtics. Or the Heat, my fault. Against Miami. Against these teams that play very good against you in the playoffs, who kind of recognize your game. You got to think at this point, like, okay, what do I need to do to my game to elevate it, to get past these teams? And I think for him, like I said, he has all the makings of it. It just somehow, some way, he just gets shut down. And that's why I think it's some type of mentality thing, because it just makes no sense. He has the skills there. His 3-point shot has gotten somewhat better, but it's not like Curry or something where you just pull up 30 and just pull up like that. But
he's never going to be that, though.
He's never going to be that. He just needs
to
be
what Giannis is missing to me is the ability to be what he's missing right now is that dynamicism in his game where he could pull up from any point in the court from any position. Because right now, Giannis can only do one of two things. He can either pull up, he can either shoot a standstill 3 off the catch, or he can go all the way to the basket, shoot a layup, or dunk. The thing is about his game is that as soon as you see him take a dribble inside, he has to go inside, which means you can build the wall. If he catches, okay, at the catch, he's dangerous because he can hit you with a triple threat. He could jab, go by you. He could rip through. He could just straight up rise up and shoot the 3, pump fake, get you in the air, blow by you. So he's dangerous in the triple threat. But as soon as he puts the ball down, he's so predictable. And any team with a strong front line with a mix of a good perimeter defender to keep him at bay and make sure he doesn't get a good head of steam, basically deters him. That's what happened with the time when he was playing with the Heat, Jay Crowder and Jimmy Butler with Bam waiting down low.
Same way with Toronto the year before.
Yeah, and then same thing with Kawhi and Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka waiting for him last 2 years ago with Toronto. And until he gets that mid-range, because once he gets that mid-range pull-up, like just let him get an elbow jumper. He don't need to be Kawhi. You don't need to be Kobe. You don't need to be Michael Jordan. But let him even be Westbrook level of the mid-range pull-up, where he literally can just hit like 35 to 40% of them off the dribble. Enough that you can't completely sag off when he's making that drive and play him for the paint. If he can do that, I think he would open his game up so much more. I don't know if he can do that. I mean, I'm sure he could if he put the time into it. Will he? But I'm a fan of Giannis. He's only 23, 24. He's a young buck. I don't think LeBron won his first ring to 26. Jordan win his till he was like, 27. And Michael Jordan didn't win his until like 28, something like that. So I don't think it's a big rush. He's going to have time. He'll figure it out. He's a world-class talent, nice guy. I'm rooting for him, but I'm also saying Lakers are 5 against whoever comes out the East. So not his year. Wait for LeBron to retire.
So what about, let's transition because a lot of people I ain't gonna say I was one of them, but some people, predicted him to kind of go to Dallas, and we saw when he signed a contract extension that kind of flew out the window. But let's transition to Dallas. With Luka, another guy who's in MVP race right now, who, like I said, many favored him to be an MVP coming into the season. He got off to a bad start beginning of the season. Got off to a bad start. 3-point shooting was down the drain. A lot of people was thinking like, can Luka even handle this pressure? Which I don't doubt, because we're not gonna sit and act like he hasn't been playing consistently good these past 2 seasons before. So I don't think it's that defense is keying in on him is really the problem. I don't want to. I'm trying to be one of those like analysts, or I ain't gonna call myself an analyst. This is one of those people that talk about the game. I'm not gonna be one of those people that just harp everything on just these early season, struggles from these players or teams, because like these type of stuff happens all the time in the beginning of NBA seasons. Some players go on slumps, and they end up, or teams they'll go on slumps and they'll end up having the best like season. We've seen it with the Last Dance, the 97-98 Bulls. We've seen that happen with them. Your Lakers went through something like this. I think, was it that lockout season when or 2001?
Yeah, you talking about which Lakers? You talking about
I think it was 2001 when they started off bad, then they just went on to a tear, and like towards the second half of the season, they went damn near.
I think it was 2000. I think it was 2000 potentially. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it was. It was one of those years. But these type of things happen to teams. So with him, now we've seen him doing better. These last 3 team wins, granted they didn't play on Monday because of the COVID protocols, but he's been averaging over 30 points, triple, I think close to a triple double, if not triple double, these last 3 games, but coming out to average 28 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists throughout the season. I'm not too worried about his struggles. And Kristaps Porzingis is coming back too. He was back in practice, doing full contact practice, I think about 2-3 weeks ago. And he was ruled to play in the game on Monday. Granted, like I said, they had 4 players out, so I don't know if it's because of that, but they've been ruling him to come back very soon. I think once he come back with the addition of like Josh Richardson, who they have on that team, I think it's going to get better for Luka and that team. Or will they get better once Kristaps come back? Specifically Luka on the Dallas Mavericks.
I think when KP comes back, I think that's going to alleviate a lot of problems. At the end of the day, he's been playing as this solo star for pretty much the whole season, and then part of the playoffs when he was destroying the Clippers. Who, by the way, side tangent, I'm gonna be quick. Can we stop calling Kawhi and PG the best backcourt defenders or wing defenders, whatever y'all want to call them, defenders? Because it seems like every time somebody plays them, they get chewed every single time, and I've had enough of it. Because what Steph put 40 on him the other night? Like, come on, we gotta stop doing that. Pat Bev, he's a dog. Nah, I don't see none of that Black Air Force energy that I was hearing from all these people. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna sit that on the podium or a chair, table, whatever you want that to be. Place it and let you deal with that later. But Luka, I think when Kristaps Porzingis comes back, it's gonna open a lot of stuff for him. They always got. I think they're just one piece away, really. And Porzingis might be that piece when he gets back. He's healthy and he hopefully can stay healthy. That's the big if. Like, he can come back. Will he stay back? Again, best ability is availability. As great as he is, you can't be 7-2 on the bench and make an impact. So will he stay? Hopefully he will. If he does, I think the Mavericks are going to get back on track. I mean, obviously, when I say Luka's getting off to a slow start, I mean, Luka's slow starts is pretty much like 29-9-9, with just being.
As we see, he's second in MVP race right now with this slow start.
Oh, yeah. And so I think once KP gets back, his efficiency will be better. And that's really the only knock, his efficiency. I mean, the Mavs haven't won as many games as you would have liked to see, but still, this is just a weird season. They're 5-5. They've had some good wins. I mean, they honestly just destroyed the Clippers, a while back. They've had some quality wins in there. I mean, they lost to the Lakers twice. I mean, it's not too big of a loss for them. That's a good team. So gotta keep that in mind. I think he'll be fine.
So do you have LeBron James, as we wrap up this conversation, do you have LeBron James win MVP at the end of the season? With the current forecast, as we just talked about with Giannis, Luka, and LeBron, everything's going around the league, do you have LeBron James winning MVP this season?
I'm going to put my money as of now on Luca. If I had to put all my money on one person, just because he's young, he's an upstart, he's got narrative. You know, you got to have narrative behind you for winning. And obviously, LeBron's got the LeBron factor and the year 18 factor. But I think the NBA is ready to start crowning a new player to take over the mantle. They thought it was going to be Giannis. I think these two flameouts in the playoffs have really made them a little bit more, cautious about making him the spotlight of the future of the NBA. And you can see that even with Christmas Day. Who did the Lakers play on Christmas Day? Luca and the Mavs. So I think they know, okay, Luca's prime time. He's young, he's global, he's damn good. Just go ahead and make him the face, and I think they're gonna want to pick him if they can. So I'm leaning on Luca.
I kind of go with the same thing. At first, I was thinking LeBron James maybe, but I think last season, I ain't gonna say last season was probably his last chance of getting it because there ain't no talent. Like this man LeBron been over so long now, according to what everybody's been saying. In reality, he's really not that old in terms of just life in general. But compared to NBA lifestyle, he's old, and it's his 18th year. Like he somehow just keeps evolving. I think he gets better. He's not as athletic as we saw him in Miami. He's not as quick as he was during that time as much of a defender, but he's become more wiser. But I think if he has to win MVP this season, his numbers have to be better. He obviously has to be the primary scorer on that team. His assist numbers went down this year. It's not 10 as it was last season. Right now he's sitting at 7. But as season go on, that's yet to remain to be seen if he improves his assist total. But I think if he wants to win MVP, he has to be the primary scorer on that team, and he has to either improve his rebound. His rebound isn't always consistent around 8 rebounds. So it has to be assists. He has to improve the assist numbers right there. But so that's why I'm gonna have to go with Luca. I think I'm with you on Luca. Right now, like I said, with these past 3 games, we've seen him starting to improve. And Kristaps obviously will help alleviate some of the things that he's going through by himself with our defense is keying on him. And like I said, having the addition of Josh Richardson on that team with Tim Hardaway Jr. right there, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell when he comes back from his injury that he suffered last season. I think, once you have all these players back together, I think Luka is probably a can or sure in for MVP. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know any other players that we can see. Paul George, he has a good story going on with him right now. Trying to prove everybody wrong, and players come after him. Now, if he stays consistent, he can do it though. I'm not gonna sit and act like he can't be consistent because he can be. Last season he had with Oklahoma City Thunder. He was 3rd MVP race that year. So I won't be too surprised if he's in a 3rd or 2nd MVP race this year.
I ain't voting for Paul George. I'm gonna leave it like that.
I know you ain't. I ain't
voting for. I'm sorry. He's been playing good, but at the end of the day, I'm not really going to be putting any of my stock in the Pandemic P LLC. I didn't seen it go under too many times under pressure.
Okay, so on the let's wrap this up. Let's talk about some big surprises we've seen right now early on in the season. Who has surprised you so far? Who or what has surprised you so far that we've seen from the league?
I feel like we've touched on a couple of them. So the ones we've already talked on, I'll get those out the way. I'll get them out quick. The Charlotte Hornets are actually good. I don't know how much of that is the fact they're actually good or if it's the strength of their schedule. I don't know exactly who they've been beating in every area of that, but they're 6-5. They're the 6th seed right now in the East. Obviously, it's early. It doesn't matter. I mean, the Cavs were undefeated, 4-0 early in the year, and obviously they're crap. So that doesn't really mean much. But they've been playing good. And I will say this, and I will come out. I will not apologize for it because it's too early, but I will say I'm looking like I was wrong about LaMelo Ball because I felt like he was going to be a lot like Lonzo. He's not really going to show out. He's not going to do much. He'll probably put up like 14 points, like 4 rebounds, 5 assists, like decent.
You was in the came up thinking that LaMelo was going to be like Lonzo. You think he was going to be that good? Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. My internet just cutting me out. There's some comments on his own Wi-Fi as well. But I will admit, I was not in the camp. I was definitely in the camp saying the LaMelo Ball not a bust. Not a bust. I'm not saying that. I didn't say he's gonna be like Anthony Bennett or Greg Oden or anything like that. I just thought he was gonna be like slightly better than Lonzo. Like 14 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And I don't want to get ahead of myself because, like I said, 13 games. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. He had the triple-double the other night. He had a game where he didn't score at all. No, he had a game where he didn't score at all. So, it's a lot of up and down variability. He's basically like Bitcoin. He's up, he's down, he's all over the place, but he's always exciting at least, and he always makes headlines. So, I mean, if you want to invest in Bitcoin, buy some LaMelo Ball stock. But at the same time, he's playing better than I thought he would early. And the Hornets are winning games. So maybe I'll be wrong about that. So that surprised me. We already talked about the Wizards. As much crap as I give Russell Westbrook, I thought they were at least going to be like 6-5 seed material, and they still probably could. It's not really a surprise because I kind of saw it coming, but I was expecting to be wrong. But Toronto look pretty awful, honestly. They look pretty awful. And I went into expecting them not to be very good because for once, Siakam got exposed in the bubble. And I feel like a lot of teams.
Yeah, his first triple-double last night.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, Spicy P. He played pretty good the other night. But at the same time, I was thinking, he kind of got exposed a little bit. I think teams are going to know how to play him better than Fred VanVleet. He's not really as great of a player as he is. He's more of an ancillary side piece more than the main attraction. Kyle Lowry's, you know what you're going to get with Kyle Lowry. He's not going to really carry your team, but he'll keep you relevant. They lost Serge Ibaka. Marc Gasol hasn't been that good for us. We can talk about that, but he still was a piece of their core, and he was a big part of their defense. And obviously, they lost both of those guys, him and Serge Ibaka.
Now they got Chris Boucher.
I like Chris Boucher. And I like Nick Nurse. Obviously, he's a great coach. In my opinion, top 5 coach in the NBA. But I'm surprised they've been doing as poorly as they have. I wasn't saying they're going to be like a top 4 seed, but I figured they'd at least be like 6 through 8. I had them beginning of the season at 6, so that's been surprising. Jokic averaging a triple-double was not. I mean, I'm not surprised either, but it's still surprising.
That's not too surprising.
That's not too surprising because he averaged 8 assists a game last year. But it's always surprising to see a big man who averages 10 assists a game. Like, even though he's basically a point guard in a 6'10" body, it's still surprising, to see a triple-double, especially just because that seems like something that's not supposed to happen unless your name is Westbrook. So seeing him do it consistently, that was surprising. Those have been the main things. There's a lot of things that popped out to me that I thought were, interesting, but not really surprising. Like the Hawks are the 8th seed. I kind of went to the season thinking they were going to be fighting for like that 7 through 10 slot somewhere. So that doesn't really blow me, but it's interesting. The Rockets aren't doing so good, but I figured because of all the people who've been missing games and then the James Harden controversies and whatnot, that would probably happen. So that doesn't really surprise me. All the teams I thought were going to be good have been good. Speaking of the Phoenix Suns, I know a guy who mentioned they were going to be pretty solid. They looking pretty good. I don't know that man, but he knows what he's talking about. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But, Celtics are good. The Bucks are good. The Sixers are good. The Lakers are good. The Clippers are good. Like, most of the teams I expected to be good are good. I guess you could say the Nuggets have come out to a slow start, and they're 50-50 right now. But mostly not really much of anything that surprised me.
So I'm going to tell you, excuse me. I'm going to tell you, oh, God, I didn't mean to do that on there. What about the Knicks? That's the team that surprised me.
Julius
Randle, Austin Rivers.
Where's he at on the MVP ladder? He needs to get some points. We need to
we ain't got to put him on
7.5 assists a game as power forward.
No, we're not going to put him on. But they've been kind of surprised. They 5 or 6 right now. They sent it the 9th seed outside the playoffs. They've been surprising as a team to me because, the Knicks have been excuse me. The Knicks have been a laughable team for many years. They haven't been taken seriously since Carmelo was there with Amari Stoudemire and them, and they went to that Eastern, what I think they were. What they had? Semis.
That was good. They had him.
Amari,
I think that was Tyson
Chandler,
J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler,
Iman Shumpert,
Steve Novak.
Did they have the best record in the East that year?
I
don't think so.
Second. I think they were behind the Heat. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But it was one of those teams, and that's what Carmelo was still battling for a scoring champion against KD. I know that was going on, but they haven't been very competitive or taking that serious since. So that's been very surprising and fun to see with the Knicks, see what they was going on. Like you said, the Raptors, that's been kind of disappointing to see with them. See how where they are at, even coming up last season, because this is not their first season without Kawhi. Last season was their first season without Kawhi, and they was pretty good. Nick Nurse won Coach of the Year, and it was one of the top seeded teams in the East last year without Kawhi. So we can't just put that on blame. But like you said, they lost Serge Ibaka, they lost Marcus, so two key interior players.
Big part of their offense and their defense. Losing him is a big deal. Marcus Gasol was kind of that stalwart. He can't move a lick, but at least he would stay still in the paint and just clog the lane a little bit. So I think that's their defense, and their defense really was their calling card. Because their offense wasn't all that great, but they played phenomenal defense.
They did play phenomenal defense. They did, and once they got that defense going, the offense was going just as well after that too. So seeing them is kind of disappointing. My Pacers, I ain't gonna say I'm too surprised, but I know I kind of came into the season not having too much hope. I'm like, we didn't really do nothing this past offseason. Really didn't. Like we just kind of kept the same team. Victor's playing more now. He is playing, DeMontis, he's playing really good. Brogdon is putting up numbers. Huh?
Bonus is playing phenomenal. I like
he is. Malcolm Brogdon's playing really good too.
4 blocks a game.
Yeah, Miles Turner, he is. So it's we're playing good in that vein. TJ Warren, he's been out a little bit with his injury, but that's a little bit surprising because right now we're sitting at number 4 in the East, which is what we usually fall into anyways. Like just throughout the regular season, we always at least around 4 or 5, 4 through 6. That's what we're gonna fall at. But I think we probably end up staying around that area as the season progresses. Going out west, the Suns that you talked about, they're number 3 in the West. They've been playing well. I saw them play against the Pelicans. They kind of put on a clinic against them a week or two ago. They've been playing really well, even though they lost to the Wizards last night, who was one of the worst teams in the league. Pelicans, that's been surprising to me. I'm kind of disappointed. I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't think Steph Van Gundy's their coach. When they even hired him as their coach, I was like, is this the move that they want to go with this team, with this roster? I don't really think Steph Van Gundy's the guy for that team. And like I said, they have Lonzo and Bledsoe on that backcourt. I thought at first they were going to have one of them come off the bench. That's what I thought. I thought they was going to have Bledsoe come off the bench, at least. But having them two in the backcourt, defensively, that's good. Offensively, no. Because your shooting is not as good.
I definitely need to go ahead and take, in my opinion, Lonzo come off the bench and just put JJ Redick in there. Because in my opinion,
really?
So Lonzo doesn't fit their offense very well because BI has been handling the ball a lot of those possessions, and Lonzo's not really a shooter. So he's kind of been just shoved off into the corner. That's why his numbers and his assists have been down because he's not really on ball in the way he usually is. And Lonzo is the kind of player who's really his most productive initiating the offense. That's why him and LeBron, for the most part, they had some games where they played well off each other, but they really didn't allow each other to be their best selves. And BI has turned into this pretty much like this point forward for them anyway. And he's obviously better than Lonzo, so he should have the ball. But Lonzo, he doesn't really stretch. I mean, he has his moments. The Lonzo ball camp will say, well, the last 5 games, he shot 42%. And they'll ignore the first 15 that came before those. But he's not really a great shooter.
But, okay, now can you attribute this to Stan Van Gundy's coaching? Because we saw last season, he wasn't as dominant, but he would have these stretches of games and he would show these flashes with Albert Gentry as a coach who, tap into his potential as a playmaker. And, we see these lobs, especially when Zion came back, that them two is playing well with each other. And even before Zion got there, him and B.I. is playing well with each other. So do you think this is a Stan Van Gundy thing?
I think it could be a Stan Van Gundy thing, but it also could possibly just be a Pelicans thing because Alvin Gentry was coaching them last year too, and they didn't play to their potential. And then he was coaching them during the bubble, and you seen what kind of a mockery and I don't want to use a bad word, but it was a show of the duty variety down the bubble.
Shit show.
Yeah, it was a shit show. I just think they're young players and they want to do what they want to do. They're playing for contracts. They're playing for themselves. They're not playing as a team. They're all trying to figure out who's in the pecking order because they all got egos. They all want to think BI's I'm the best players. I don't think he might be the best player. Lonzo just wants the damn ball. Bledsoe, I just don't like Eric Bledsoe that much. Personally, he didn't show me much in Milwaukee, especially when they needed him most. Like the Avatar, that man would vanish. So I just don't think the team is really that great. And obviously, they the Laker misfits. I remember all these people talking all that talk last year about, oh, they traded injured for 18 games and they were 6-12 during that stretch. So it's not like they were world beaters on their own. They're just guys. And Zion, to me, and I said it last year, I'll say it again. Zion, to me, is not this world-changing LeBron level player. To me, he is not that kind of guy. He doesn't impose himself on the game as much as a guy like LeBron does. And I think most of that is because he's just not on ball. He's not a guard. He's a big. He's not big. He's only 6'6", but he plays like a big. And in the NBA, as it is constructed now, you can't really dominate the game unless you have guard-like skills. Like if you look at the top 10 players in the league right now, outside of maybe Joel Embiid, they're all guards or have guard-like ability. LeBron, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons. Even Anthony Davis, Kawhi, Paul George, Bradley Beal, whoever you want to throw in there. They're all guards. They can all bring the ball down and really facilitate and conduct things. And Zion is basically a garbage pail guy. He gets rebounds. He gets the ball dumped down low and he finishes in there. He's great at that, but
he's great in transition. He's great in transition. He's his spot. He's a good spot-up shooter.
Right. But he's not initiating offense. And when you're not initiating the offense, it's like my career. Everybody wants to be a point guard because as a point guard, you get so much control over the flow of the game. And when you can't control the flow of the game, you're at the mercy of everybody else. And when you're at the mercy of everybody else, it's hard to be the best player. If you're like, Shaq or Hakeem Olajuwon or something like that, where you just this all dominating presence maybe. But in the new age era, very difficult to do. So I just don't think the Pelicans are as good as Build. I think they'll figure it out. Maybe he's not the coach. Maybe, throwing our boy Kenny in the mix. And he's great at developing young players and getting them to buy into a system. So I think that would be great for them. But I was never really expecting a ton from the Pelicans. I figured they would make the playoffs like the 8th seed. I didn't think they'd be much higher than that if they did. They're obviously not hitting that metric, but I'm not surprised they're not either.
So I would think for them coaching-wise, I would think Mark Jackson would be the good coach because he's a former point guard. He's second all-time in assists because Magic, him, then Steve Nash. Yeah, I'm assuming so. I know Steve Nash before he retired. I know Steve Nash cracked 3. No, it's Stockton. I'm tripping. Steve Nash took over for Mark Jackson.
Yeah,
Stockton.
He's top 5 for sure. He's top 5 for sure. Stockton's
he's number 4. He's number 4. That's what he is. Cause it's I think it might be Kidd.
Stockton, Magic, Nash, or Kidd, and then Mark Jackson. I think.
I know Nash is number 3. Mark Jackson number 4. I know Nash took his spot.
He's at least
number 3. He's top 5.
He's top 5.
So I think if you had a guy like him on that team, playing with a guy like Lonzo, I think he probably would have liked the potential. We saw what he did with Steph Curry. Granted, 2 different styles of players, but going off Mark Jackson type of player he is, being that pass first type of guard, I think they kind of would have helped Lonzo. Not saying that Lonzo was the main guy that New Orleans needed to worry about, but in terms of like the culture that we talk about, developing guys, developing players, I think he would have been a better well-suited guy for that team than a Stan Van Gundy is. Because I think I mentioned this before, even on the last show. Like, we see what he done in Detroit with a bunch of young guys. He really didn't do nothing with them. He didn't really do much. They had like, one playoff run, and they got swept in 4 games by Milwaukee with the injured Blake Griffin. That's about it. The year before, or not year before, but the team before they played with the Magic, you led them to the NBA Finals, but that's with a big man and a bunch of shooters. And, you would think, okay, this guy's coaching a team that, with good spacing, you think he would try to implement that with this team. But we see with this team, he's kind of went like a defensive minded type team. Like I said, having Lonzo and Bledsoe on that.
Right.
Williamson and Adams as a parent is not the problem. I think them 2 down low is really good. You have Brandon Ingram there, as that wing guy. But it's just that back court I'm still not sold on. I don't like having Bledsoe and Lonzo on the back court together.
Go JJ on there. I just think that would spacing. I think it would help them with sharing the ball. I think it would just open up the court. They would give up a little bit on defense, but the value add on offense versus the decline in defense would be a net positive in my mind.
Right. And like it just doesn't blend well. And like I said, going on what I said earlier, I just didn't really think Heinz Stephen was really the move for New Orleans. So there's yet to be seen what they're gonna do with this as go on the season. Maybe something clicks. Maybe they make some trades with somebody on. I don't know, because they got some young players. They got some good people on their bench. Josh Hart is still there. Jackson Hayes. a bunch of other guys they have on their team that I'm not naming right now, but they have some shooters. It's just the offense is not this well right now. And that's kind of disappointing to me because I really had high hopes for them going into the season, especially with them signing Steven Adams, because that was really a big signing for me for that team. But yeah, I mean that Timberwolves is playing pretty bad. I thought they'd be at least a little bit better. I know Karl Towns been out some games, so I can't really attribute. I can't really act like that's I can't ignore that fact. I should say I can't ignore that fact that he's been gone a couple of games. So that's kind of played it to the part why they haven't been playing that good. Hopefully that's yet to be seen. Because like I said, it's all beginning of the season type numbers and stats. As we start to get into the end of this month and in February, as we get closer to All-Star break, we're really starting to see where the NBA teams were aligning these standings and who's really going to have a good year, who's going to end up having a shitty year. I think it's what we're really going to find out. But as of right now, those are kind of my surprises and disappointments. And that's how we're going to have it with the show here today. Bucket Patrol, thank you again for joining us. Will we see you here more often now? Or what's going on? What's going on? Because you're here for the second week in a row. What's going on, man? Are you here for good? Let the fans know.
Look, me and my agent, we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about it, make sure me and my family, make sure everybody's behind this decision. But I know I enjoy being on the podcast. Somebody's got to bring some rationale and logic to the Passion Pod. I figure it's my civic duty to provide it wherever I can. I can't commit to being here long term, but I say that when I'm going to be here, it's going to be a good time. Hopefully it's a long time too, but we'll see. We'll see very soon.
And we enjoy you. By we, I mean me and the fans that tune in on this show. So, hey, if you come, you come. If not, oh well. Ball will keep rolling without you, as we saw earlier on the show. Thank you, George. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Trey Ball. Peace out. We done.